Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show, another exciting guest. Today, we're going to go into a journey, a self-love journey. Let's go deeper. Let's talk about breaking generational curses, self-healing, a soul pathway. Let's talk about facing our own demons. Damn, we getting ready to get deep. And let's talk about even more things that I even teach my daughter and my children not to be codependent in the handicaps that can have upon your life. And we're going to talk about so much more. But I'm not going to tell this story. This is a story that can only be told by someone that has encountered these obstacles in life. And not only the obstacles, but to recognize that they need to be pivoted to allow them to keep moving in their own soul journey, to change the generational curse, and so forth and so on and so on, so the legacy doesn't repeat itself through their own children.
Yes.
We can keep going, but I'm not going to preach today. So, without further ado, first of all, let me give her thanks because she's been so patient with me as I've been going back and forth with double knee replacements. And I definitely wanted to have her on the show all the way from Youngstown, Ohio to Orlando, Florida. Let's welcome Miss Benena Rodriguez to the show. What's up, baby girl?
Hi, guys. Hi, Andre. Thank you for having me.
Long overdue. Jesus. Long overdue. But well worth the wait. You know, it's kind of like having
Absolutely.
that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Kind of like having that cheesecake in front of you.
I wasn't in a rush.
Yeah, kind of like having that cheesecake. Go, okay, how long can I keep this here before it goes bad? Youngstown, Ohio. I told you I used to live in Avon Lake. I got my driver's license from Ohio in Youngstown because I failed the one in Cleveland because I was doing a rolling stop. But I found my way to Youngstown. So what was it like for you growing up in Youngstown? Tell the viewers a little bit about who you are.
Youngstown. I grew up in the city, the outside of the city, suburbs, urban area. I can't say it was difficult because that's life for us there, you know. I grew up in Youngstown till I was 13 years old, and then we ventured out to Hubbard. So I went from a complete, ghetto neighborhood to an all-white neighborhood. That was a complete switch up for me into trying to adjust to who I was learning myself to be, then being thrown into a completely different area.
Hold that thought for a minute. Hold that thought for a minute. Let's start there. And hold that thought for a second. So you're Puerto Rican, correct? This is crazy because I don't know any Puerto Ricans. None. I just met a few. But in Ohio, in general, in Youngstown, I didn't know that they even had Puerto Rican neighborhoods.
Well, on the east side, like Camel area, that's basically where we were at. I grew up on the south side,
Right.
But on the east side is where the Puerto Ricans mainly were. But I grew up on the south side, which is predominantly Black.
What was the culture shock for you? Because we're gonna get into this. I'm gonna use this part to guide people to the breadcrumbs, so they can understand what I'm talking about when we say changing the culture for the benefit of the good. So what was it like for you when you said you went from this particular neighborhood as a young child, your formative years, now you're into a whole different suburb area where there's a whole lot of different people that are no longer Puerto Rican. What was that like for you?
Um, it it was different because I expressed myself differently. I dressed differently. My surroundings, everything was just different. And for me, I wasn't. My skin was too dark to be with the white girls, and for the black girls, my skin was too light. So I kind of I never fit in anywhere. The school that I was going to, we had one other Puerto Rican that was there, and it wasn't very diverse. I went from a diverse school to a non-diverse school. So trying to fit in, trying to make friends was it was hard at first, but over time, um, I kind of just created my own path and did my own thing, which is why I'm at where I'm at today.
When you said you kind of created your own path, what do you mean by that? And when did you realize that you had to take some type of control over who you were going to become? I mean, did you have a close relationship with your mom, with your dad, with family? Because when you're dealing with when you're dealing with ethnic groups such as Latinos, Mexicans, blacks, there, there's a really strong family tie. I'm not saying it's not in the white culture, but it's really there when you see cultures outside of the white race. They really bond together. Did you have a support cast with a mom and a dad in the household, brothers and sisters?
Um, no, I did not. I grew up with siblings, yes, but there wasn't a close family dynamic. My mom had different relationships. I've witnessed my mom have a few different relationships. She was very codependent on the men that came into her life, and I had a support group outside of the family. I had friends that their parents would take me in and love me and support me. A real small group of friends that I had. But outside of that, no, the family dynamic inside the home was not close.
Why didn't your mom? Let me clear my thought here for a second, so I can answer, so I can ask the question the right way. Other people saw what you were going through, and why? How did your mom's codependency affect you, and when did you realize? About what age did you realize that this could become a major factor in your own personal development?
Oh, that's a great question. As far as age, I did not come to the realization until later on in life. However, did I understand that I was being affected by my mom's? Did I know it was codependency at that time? No, but I knew that the relationships that my mom was in was affecting me. And there was nothing that I could do to get my mom to understand that.
How was it
So
affecting you? What
I
do you mean it was affecting you?
um the men that she chose to be with were very unhealthy, very toxic men. And they would project and uh, they would overstep boundaries. And
When
I
you say
would
overstep
express these things.
boundaries, when you say
What's
overstep
that?
bound, when you're saying overstep boundaries, and I know this can be hard because we're opening up Pandora's box a little bit, but sometimes in order for people to understand what's really happening here, we have to take them down the yellow brick road. We got to give them the red pill and not the blue pill.
You're right.
So when you
You're
were
right.
saying overstepping boundaries, were these men being inappropriate to a young girl, and your mom was closing a blind eye to what was happening?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. That's thank you for wording that for me because that's what was happening.
Did your mom see that this was taking place, or she just
According
choose
to
not to?
according to her, no. But later on now in life, we've since had those discussions, and she now tells me she understands and she could see how she She could see it now looking back. But as far as then and there, no, she was told. But again, when you are in that moment and you're codependent and you come from an ignorant lifestyle and you're not trying to better yourself because you're there. You're trapped in that world. You're only going to raise as high as you allow yourself to. And back then, not having the access that we do now,
Right.
internet, the help that's out there, I empathize from my mom and the way that she grew up.
How
So
did
I
your How
I
did your mom
understand
grow
it.
up? That was my next question. How did your mom grow up? You
My
Puerto Rico, right? Puerto Rican.
No, no, my mom was born and raised in Youngstown.
Okay.
She was adopted.
Oh,
Yeah, her and my uncle were both adopted into a family at a very young age. They were both babies when they were adopted, and she grew up in a very abusive dynamic in her household. So, and she went through the same things that I had gone through, except she didn't know how to get herself out of it, and the generational curse just continued until it got to me.
so let me get some clarity for the viewers. Your mom was adopted with a family that was well to do, but there was codependency in the household there, or they was turning a blind eye, or your mom was also being victimized as a young girl.
My mom was also being victimized. My mom was being abused by her stepmother.
Wow.
I believe my mom's foster mom passed away at the age of 13, 14, somewhere around there. And my mom just ran the streets from there.
So that's all your mom really knew.
Hmm.
Then you wind up coming aboard. Where's the father?
My grandfather passed away when I was 10. He lived with us in Youngstown.
So
Right before we moved from Youngstown to Hubbard, he had passed away. My mom was taking care of him.
so your grandfather played the male role model in your family. You growing up as
Hmm.
so where was your
Hmm.
father at? Where was your father?
My father wasn't around. I didn't meet my biological father until I was 21. However, my mom was with a man that's the father of my two younger brothers. That was also, that's where everything began for me, for the inappropriate behavior. I was,
That's
I, wa-
crazy. So this is a guy that has children by your mom, two children by your mom, which is your siblings, but he was also inappropriate to you prior to having these children. Your mom knew about the inappropriate behavior from your half dad and still choose to
well,
have
this was,
children by him. I,
we get, no, my mom did not know about his behavior because I was so young.
oh,
However, my mom did know about my stepfather's behavior, not the first one, but when she divorced him and remarried, the second man she married was also being inappropriate, and I brought that to her attention, and she gave me up for adoption rather than
wow.
putting him in his place. Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna do it like this, like sand through the hourglass. So are the days of our lives.
Right. Right.
So being a female, you need that mother nourishment. Your mom was willing to sacrifice that for the codependency.
Right.
And I know some people may find that hard to understand, but there are some people that are like that, both male and female. Let's not throw the women up under
Absolutely.
both male and female. But luckily, you was young enough that you could recover from this. So you had some friends or family friends that was willing to take you in. Did they see what was going on in your household?
To an extent, yeah. They didn't know that was happening, but they knew that it wasn't a healthy dynamic for me.
about what age was it when you decided, okay, enough is enough? I can see now I can't get help from my mom because she's codependent. I did you ever ask your mom who your dad was? Did you ever try to reach out to your biological dad?
I did when I was probably around 12, 11 or 12 when I really wanted to I started getting curious about who my biological father was, and she told me that she didn't know who it was, that she knew who it could have possibly been, but later on to find out that she just didn't want me to seek him out. But I accidentally found him. I was 20 years old. It was like 1920. I was working at the mall, in Southern Park Mall. And a friend that I was working with, the only thing I knew from my biological fathers, I had two sisters, Cynthia and Yolanda, and I knew their names, and that was it. So just in conversation like we're having right now, I'm working with him, and he's asking me about my life, and I told him, I said, yeah, my dad's supposed to live over here on the east side, and I have a sister, Yolanda and Cynthia. And he's like, hold on. You have a sister named Yolanda and Cynthia? And I said, yeah. He said, I know exactly who your sisters are, and I know who your father is. So he called them up. Um, Luckily, it was my niece's birthday that was coming up, Jalea, and Cynthia was having everybody come to the house. My four brothers, I'm sorry, my three brothers, my three younger brothers, and both of my sisters were going to be there.
Wow.
So they invited me over, and I got to meet my whole family at one time.
Man,
Yeah.
did your dad know what had just happened to you, that your mom well, your mom is codependent, that you had to stay somewhere else? How did he take all this, or did you even share this with him on what you was going through?
You know what, Andre? I didn't talk about none of this stuff because when you don't know, you don't when you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
And in that time period, that was just life. It wasn't like I looked at other people's lives and was like, "Oh, I wish my life was like that." Like, no, this is what my life was, and I just continued just to move down that path. And I just one door would open, one door would close, one door would open, one door would close. And that's just what it was. It wasn't until my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, I really started to understand like, wow, like you can take charge of this. You can change this. I was already on that dynamic, but it wasn't registering in my mind that I could take control of it.
When you say take
So,
control of it, what were you trying to take control of?
myself, what was happening around me, knowing that knowing that I wanted it to change, but didn't know how to make it change.
When you say make it
Ha-
change, what did you want to change? So far, you meet your dad. You don't acknowledge the things that you're going through. So what were you trying to change?
the way I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like I wasn't, I knew that if something didn't change, that my life was going to end up just like everybody else's that was around me. And that's not what I felt inside of me. Did I know that then?
Right.
No, I had no idea. I had no idea. Looking back now, I can understand it.
Hmm.
But then in the moment, I didn't know what I was feeling. I didn't know what I was thinking. I just knew that this wasn't it.
What was the environment around you? That's a key word. What was this environment around you?
Mediocrity,
Meaning,
robots doing the 9 to 5, and you know, just I can't mundane every day, the same every single day, and it was a not fulfilling lifestyle at all. And it didn't have to just do with, I mean, it starts from the inside. It's not just what's going on around you, but it's what's happening on the inside. And even though I couldn't identify what was happening, I knew what I was experiencing. My soul was like, no, no, you're meant for more.
what do you?
Everybody is. It's just whether you allow yourself to tap into that or not.
You're in the medical field,
I
a
am.
nurse, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people would say aren't you part of the system? You go to work every day. You do the same thing every day. So help me
Mhm.
understand what's the shift here for you.
Stepping stones, mentality, understanding. That's what creates the difference. Am it 3D? Yes, I am a part of the system. But 5D internally, understanding energetically that this is leading me to bigger things as long as I continue the self growth.
Let's go back. You said something about breaking the curses. You have a child. What are you doing different to change that perspective? Because we hear a lot of people say that, but
Hmm.
they still are caught up in that matrix. You know what I mean? Like your father, your child's father, you guys have can communicate, but isn't that somewhat looking in the mirror and seeing the same thing again? So what are you doing differently to shield that? Because it looks like you're looking in the woman in the mirror.
That's a great question. And from the outside, yeah, it does look like the same dynamics. Not exactly, but it can be looked at that way differently. I listen to my son. Excuse me. I pay attention to him. I make sure that he's emotionally fulfilled. I make sure that he is taken care of and not just materialistically, but when he voices something, I don't just let it go past. I hear what he is telling me. Our children are so smart and they're here. We have children to teach us things. They're not just here for us to guide, they're actually guiding us. And if we take the time to sit and to listen to them, they open up so many doorways for us and show us things that we aren't able to see unless we open our ears and eyes to it.
What are some of the things
So,
that what are some of the things that you fear about your son not being able to have versus similarities that you went through? Now let's look at it from the real perspective here too. You're a female, he's a male. So the
mhm,
nurturing is going to be totally different. Society
mhm.
is going to be totally different. The construct is going to be totally different. The matrix is going to be totally different. So how are you going to be able to address all of these things and explain a little bit more about you said his emotion stability. Explain that.
Well, I cannot address everything for him, which is why I have the co-parenting. I've worked out the co-parenting skills that it takes to work with his father because I understand as a mother I cannot meet my son's needs in a totality as a young man, even as a woman needs both parents, a male and a female, a mother and a father, just as a son needs a mother and a father. We both offer different aspects to help that child grow. But for me, what I'm doing is I'm maintaining that relationship with my son's father to ensure that my son has his father in his life. And his father does the same thing with me. Co parenting, we're great with our son. Just because we don't get along personally doesn't mean that we can't come together for the betterment of our son. Um, I lost my train of thought there. What was your other question? I'm sorry.
But I see so many women become child support wranglers
Oh, of
versus
course.
understanding the importance of, and excuse me.
I'm no longer
I,
codependent
I
on
like what you just said.
anybody
Yeah, I like what you just said.
financially.
So why is it from your perspective? You've been around the codependency side. You've seen the different sides of parents and stuff. But what do you think makes your way so a workable solution? Because, like I said, so many women rather play child support wranglers than to understand the key word, what you just said. It's important to have both parents. Even if me and you don't get along, it should not overstep the boundaries of raising a child. What's your take on that? And how do you, what are three things that you do to make sure that works with you and your child's father?
Self-awareness. You have to be self-aware. If you're not self-aware, you're just walking. It does not, it's not even just about your child or your children. It's point blank period. You must have self-awareness about yourself first. Why are you reacting this way? What's causing you to think these things? And this is just across the board. I know what you're talking about, but I'm kind of taking it broad span here because this is what works for me in everything that I do. Before I respond to my son's father's messages, before I engage in conversation with him, if I find myself to be upset about something, I'm asking myself, why? Why am I upset about this? And depending on how you react or respond is going to determine how this situation is going to play out. People like to say, "Oh, be the bigger person." It's not necessarily about being the bigger person. If you want to, and dumb it down to that, yeah, that's what it is. But at the end of the day, it's more about you and what you're trying to do. And if your child is the main focus, everything else is noise. Everything else is noise.
How did
Let
you
it go because
how did you get him
God's
to
gonna find a way for
how
you.
did you get him to accommodate what you needed to make sure that this generational situation doesn't happen with your son? How did you get him to buy into it? And did he come from a stable environment?
No. My son's father did not come from a stable environment either, which is why the two of us just clashed. Our who we are as people just does not we don't get along together that way, so we had to separate. But his foundation, um, he was already a good father. And I saw that about him when I got together with him. He had already had two sons, and he was a major part of their life. He made sure that he was there for them financially and did his part. So me having a child with him, I was not worried that my son would not have the things that he needed, but more so just a stable emotional foundation. And that's where I take on about 90% of that. But there's no getting him on board. It's basically been me responding, not reacting to his actions or to his words, with an understanding that this is not about him, this is not about me, this is about my son,
But
our son.
90%, why not just take the whole 10? Because that sounds like a small fragment, a small percentage when it comes to trying to change um, um, a generational bondage. So why is he only able to bring 10% and you bringing 90%?
Because he has, well, first of all, I can't say a full 100 because I'm not perfect. I have my own emotional battles. I have my days, my moments, my weeks, my months that I'm not here emotionally, and I'm not able to pour into my son the way that he needs me to. Nobody's perfect. But when it comes to me knowing that it's 90% is because I see how his father reacts to me. I see how his father responds to me. I see how his father deals with him and talks to him at times. And it's not the most healthiest. Um, but this is where moms come in and we're nurturing and we're loving and we give a different perspective on things.
So what do you think that you have to do? Because like I said, 90 and 10% is two different numbers. So what do
Hmm.
you need to let go of in order to help balance the
Ooh,
scale?
oof.
I'm coming at you today.
I see, but these are great. Oh my gosh, these are great questions because you're putting me like, wow, like you holding the mirror up to me. Um, my struggle has been my love life as my mom.
So no
It's
matter
been
how
my love
hard
life.
so you're still trying to deal with, let me get the download now. Let me get the download here. You're still trying to deal with the possibility of the DNA that your mom still have. You find yourself that you may be just as weak to being in that same situation. So you rather take on the 90% to try to break it as opposed to unleashing a little bit more of the accountability on him because you feel he can't even take the accountability of even another 10%, which will only give him 20% because he's not even self-aware of what's going on throughout the whole scenario. Was that the download you was looking for?
You could not have said. Whew, you just gave me chills. Oh, you just gave me chills. Yes, I
That was the
cannot.
download. That was the download.
Wow. On. Whew, that was a mouthful right there, but every word right on point.
And
Absolutely.
I think that download came because I can resonate because no matter how
Wow.
people try to break these stigmas of curses, I think a lot of times it's difficult to look in that mirror. It's difficult because I tell people I'm not trying to change everything, and because it's difficult for me to change. Let me get a different download here. I'm not trying to change who I am. I'm trying to change the way that I look at myself going into the future. I think that's what it's about. I think people
Yeah.
try to change
Yeah.
right off the bat, and you can't really change off the bat because these chess pieces are there for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a lot easier if people would be like what I was just thinking at first. I'm thinking from what we call the normal, the not the 3D, but where we're at now. Well, heck, you should give him 50-50. Well, you can't give somebody 50-50 if they don't realize that they're not even capable of dealing with the 10%. 10% may be all that person can handle. Some people have to
It is not a
play.
jab. It's
Yes.
not a jab. It's
Some
what
people
it
have to play.
is.
Some people have to play Atlas. They have to hold the world. They don't want to, but they just have to. And in this case, you have to, but you still have to deal with these words, which is the demons. And the demons, in your case, is really avoiding the handicap that you've seen with your mom, and probably let's put it like this: probably so many others in your culture that are females that had to deal with this stigma.
And don't let it fool you. Not just females, males too.
Yeah. What's that movie,
Males
Baby
too.
Boy? The movie Baby Boy.
With Tyrese.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah. People be like, I say, hey, I know people like that, Baby Boy, and I think,
Yep.
and I tell mothers that's why it's so important that, like you said, and I appreciate you doing that. You're trying to find that medium ground. Nobody said y'all got to get along, but
Right.
you got to realize that two things can probably happen in this situation. He can wind up being handicapped by giving too much protection from the mom, which is the baby boy syndrome, or he could step in and say, okay, well, this, that, and the other. But you can grow such an attachment because 90% means you got a stronger bond. So he could
Yep.
be
Oh,
another baby. He could be another movie, you know.
I needed this. Oh my gosh, I needed this. Everything you're saying, just
But why do you think
and I.
this is such a handicap in society? That's my question because I can sit here and talk about it all day. We can see it all day, but when you put on the magic glasses, the world is a whole different scenario. It becomes so clear. But a lot of people don't know how to put those glasses on because they like what they see. So from what you've gone through, what has been the two-part question? Why is it so hard for people to see this and look at it objectively? And how, because you have put on the glasses, what do you need to do to keep moving stronger?
Circle right back around to self-awareness. People don't like to take a look in the mirror. They don't know how. There's too much noise between our phones, the everything that's made to keep us busy and not taking that time to be able to process. And to be able to process, you need time alone. You need to be quiet. We don't have that. We have our phones 24/7. We got the TV, we got games, we got the 9 to 5. We're just constant go, go, go. And when you don't take that time to sit and process and to understand, to dig deep inside of you, you're going to stay with the victim mentality. Everything's happening to you. That's the mentality. Everything's happening to you, when in reality, everything's happening for you. This is where you get to take that control and make that choice. But people they're not able to process, therefore they're not be able to become self-aware. What do I have to do to continue moving forward? Keep having conversations like this, where you put me in check and make me think, okay. Because when you are on a certain frequency, and this isn't to say people are higher, lower, better, worse, it doesn't, none of that matters. It's about having conversations like this with like-minded people. You can't have a conversation with somebody that doesn't think like you and expect for them to make you think about things. It's you making them think about things.
Mm.
But when you are having a conversation with somebody who is like-minded and understands rather, and you bring these type of questions to the forefront, I'm like, damn. Whew,
When did the shift
yeah.
change? When did the shift change for you, and what was that like when it did change?
Ooh. Andre, I was 33 years old when I became a conscious being. I've always operated on a different frequency than people around me, and I knew because of the way my soul felt coming into encounters, even as young as middle school, seeing how girls would treat other girls and how it made me feel on the inside. And that's been with me my entire life. But at 33 years old, there was a shift that took place. And it happened the night that my first stepfather called me, and he was crying on the phone. And he said, "Sissy, I need to talk with you." And I said, "I already know." He said, "You can put me in jail if you want to. I understand." And I closed the phone call out. I knew what I remembered. And it's in that moment, it's like my whole life just aligned. And I knew right then and there that everything that I had believed in my past that was a dream, because that was my protection, was to tell me that it was just a dream, it was just a dream. It all came back to me. And then I had a choice of, was I going to remain a victim, or was I going to use this to push me forward in my self-love journey? And I came across Alan Watts. Do you know who Alan Watts is?
No.
Alan Watts is a British philosopher. I accidentally found him on YouTube one day on a song that I was listening to. I heard him in the background speaking his philosophy. And I was like, who is this man? And I looked him up on YouTube, and here he has all these teachings and about life and everything that I've ever felt inside of me. To have somebody be able to put it into words was this man. And listening to him has changed my life, my perspective on life, complete 180. I was 33 years old when that shift took place.
What did when the phone call came? What was that like for you? Let me go deeper than this, because we're getting real here. How long had you been holding on to this prior to getting the call. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. We're connected. We're connected vibrationally. So that means something about your vibration and his vibration was crossing each other, whether
Yep.
it be guilt, shame, or whatever. But
Yep.
something happened during that paradox. When the call came, did you allow him to finish what he was about to say?
No,
Why?
because I didn't want to hear anymore. I remember it differently than what his actions on the phone call revealed to me. And that was enough for me to know that God protected me. He protected my mind from remembering exactly what happened or what was happening. I have a very vague remembrance of it, but I remember enough to know that what I felt, that's what I remember the most, is what I felt on the inside of me. When I got on the phone with him and I heard him crying, and his words to me were, I need to talk to you. I already knew exactly what he was about to tell me. We never spoke about it. It's never been brought up ever. But in that moment, I don't know how I knew, but I knew. And I told him, I know what you're talking about, and we'll leave it there. And
Wow.
he broke down, and I just got off the phone, and that was the first time I'd spoken to him in years, and the last time I've spoken to him.
Wow. Before we wrap up, you mentioned demons. I don't call them demons. I call it unresolved traumas.
Yeah. And
Okay.
that's what it is.
Have you dealt with all yours?
No.
What is the toughest ones you got to deal with right now?
Continuing down this journey of self love. I think self love is a continuous. I don't think you ever fully know how to truly love yourself because you're constantly changing. And those traumas are with you no matter how much people want to say, oh, you're healed from them. You are only healed to the level that you can understand at that time.
I 100% agree. I can remember talking to my therapist, Steve Cooper, and he asked me a question one time. He said, Andre, have you ever been in love?
Mm.
I had to think about that deeply. I mean, and I told him no. And he got quiet. And my reason was I had a simulation of love through my mom, through family. But as far as unconditional love, what you look at in what we call the real world, no. I said because in order to understand that, I had to be a product, a full, willing product of it, not half of a product of it. So no,
Mm-hmm.
you can't even say you love in a relationship because go back what you're saying. I don't know what traumas that they're hiding. It may take 6 months. It may take a year. You heard the old saying, you never know a person till you live with them.
Yep.
Then you go, oh my God, you know,
Yep.
even the slightest little shit can piss you off. If I like contemporary furniture, you like country furniture, man, you gonna have some problems.
Right.
Now I gotta ask myself, do I love this person, not love this person? Am I willing to compromise for the greater good of a developmental relationship?
Right.
So I agree with what you're saying. Everything about love is the developmental stages of information and actions that's been placed upon you. So he got kind of quiet on that. I said love is an overused word
Yeah.
in our world because nobody really knows what that means because we're shifting and changing every single second.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I can't, I love for the moment. Thank you for the download. I love for the moment. I love the moment of waking up. I love the moment of going back to sleep, reblossoming. But when every time you reblossom, you still got to deal with the same shit. It's how
Yeah.
many weeds do I want to deal with today? I'm not
Yeah.
trying to tackle which one. Anyway, we could keep talking on and on and on all night. So your biggest obstacle right now so far with this love journey has been what?
Learning self-love. That's
What
been the biggest obstacle.
what does self love look like to you in your world?
Mm. Self-love looks like to me being able to speak your truth. And I think you and I had talked about this, about saying about your truth, because there's only one truth.
Yeah,
Um,
you can share it.
which I mean, you made a really valid point when you said that. I think I'm so used to saying my truth, my truth, my truth, because truth also can, if you're gonna dig deeper with it, is, your perception of it. Everybody's perception is different. But self-love to me is being able to speak who you are, what you're feeling in that moment. Delivery matters, absolutely. Yes, but the freedom. Self-love is having the freedom to be and speak your most authentic self and to feel that freedom.
Hmm.
And not even if you're afraid, even if you're afraid to still be able to do that. Because then you're not only showing self-love to yourself, but you're showing others that you love them enough to let them see who you truly are.
What do you think the biggest handicap is in the world today as it comes to a soul journey or self love journey? What do you think the number one thing is that's handicapping both men, women, and our children?
Convenience.
Explain.
Everything is built out of convenience. Everything is built to keep our minds preoccupied. And what's that what's attention span, keeps your attention span so small. Nobody takes the time to analyze, to process, because everything is, once something gets hard, you want to quit, you want to stop.
So the the agony of defeat has already been defeated because there's no tools. Let me rephrase this. We don't know how to use the tools that we've already gotten, which is to re-hardwire ourselves
Right.
to the possible versus the impossible.
Right.
Hmm.
Because everything's made to be so easy, quick, instant gratification. That's it. That's the word I was looking for too. Instant gratification. Everybody wants instant gratification. You want to feel good right now. You don't want to work for it. You want to feel good right now.
Before we end, what's your message to the world? What do you want the people to get from your story? You definitely got that beast
Mm.
mindset. I like that, but it goes beyond that. You have a spiritual enlightenment here going on. So, what is it that you want to people to resonate with your story?
I'm sorry, the phone cut out as soon as you said you definitely got, and I didn't hear what you said after that.
Oh, I said you definitely have a spiritual, universal connection. So, what is it that you want to the people to resonate from your story, this journey, beautiful journey that you've gone on?
What I want people to understand the most is that, and it sounds so cliche-ish, it does, but as you get older and you walk through this journey, and I say it all the time, peace, light, and love is what we need, is what the frequency that we need to be operating on, and that we all have a story. We all have a story. But our stories in the past, it's not that they don't matter, but what matters is what are we doing with that story?
Hmm.
And just to learn to be your most authentic self, because when you accept yourself, you don't have to worry about the world accepting you. and you pave that path of freedom for yourself, to yourself, and for your soul tribe.
I like the way you
So it's
said the
peace,
soul
light, and
tribe.
love.
What is a soul tribe? Before we wrap up, what is soul tribe?
The soul tribe are the like-minded souls that travel next to you, that understand, they understand. When you connect and you speak, they understand what you're talking about. They're not looking at you with judgmental eyes, and their hearts are open. They understand, or they're willing to understand. That's your soul tribe. The people that can resonate with what you're talking about.
Sounds like a winner. How can the viewers follow you, reach out to you, and learn more about your soul journey?
They can find me on Instagram, Empress underscore soul, or you can find me on YouTube, Vibing with B.
Okay, how did you get both of those names? Like, are those angelic names? Like, how did you pick those two names?
Audrey, I couldn't even tell you. Vibing with B, just because this was years ago too. Just because I'm a whole vibe. I really am. And people have told me that all like since I've been a little girl. You're a whole vibe, Benena. You just are on a frequency of your own. So come vibe with me. Come vibe with B and Empress Soul, because I truly do see myself. I look at myself as an empress.
Wow.
I value myself that way. I love myself that way.
Wow, that is deep. Thank you so much for taking time out to come on the show. Thanks for being patient with me as I went through my recovery. You're definitely a empress, to say the least, and a heck of a lot more. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton show.
Thank you, Andre.